Today, we're about to run an insane simulation where we try to raise 3 of the strangest Minecraft creatures as pets. But there's a twist. All 3 of them will start as tiny, highly classified creatures, small enough to fit inside a laboratory containment chamber. We're going to follow their journey from the moment they're born all the way to the day they grow into powerful creatures capable of changing entire worlds. The capsule opened and something stepped out of the freezing mist. It was a Snow Golem. Somehow, its pumpkin head was glowing. The moment it touched the floor, ice spread across the entire lab. I quickly built it a snowy biome before the cold could cause trouble. The Snow Golem immediately found the ice slide and couldn't resist trying it. But the next capsule was already opening, and this creature looked much more dangerous. Verity stared straight at me with that terrifying smile. Then it lifted the laboratory equipment without even touching it. So I gave Verity its own biome, a dark Minecraft end. Inside, Verity began controlling the purple blocks like they were toys. Then the final capsule opened, revealing my last new pet. It was a tiny Warden, but its little roar was surprisingly powerful. Even its glowing horns seemed to react to every sound it made. I built the Warden a deep dark biome, complete with glowing skulk. And now all 3 Minecraft pets had their own worlds. I just hoped I could keep them under control. Each pet needed a completely different diet. The Snow Golem loved frozen berries covered in icy syrup. Verity floated over end crystals, watching them disappear into the air. The Warden had his own special food too, designed to calm his senses. He seemed to enjoy it, especially the strange vibrations around him. Then it was time to see if the 3 pets could actually get along. For the first time, Snow Golem, Verity, and Warden shared the same space. The Snow Golem happily made a snowball and tossed it at Warden. A sudden sound startled the Warden, making him stumble over a small block. Before he could fall, Verity caught him with its telekinetic power. Soon, all 3 were chasing a glowing ball around the room. But the scientists weren't doing this for fun. They wanted data, and now they were ready to push the pets to their limits. First, they placed the Snow Golem on a burning obstacle course. As the temperature rose, the golem slowly began to melt. Drops of melting snow slid down its body. Something had to be done. The Snow Golem froze the flames and created a bridge of ice. But the Warden faced the most brutal test. They locked him in a cage and activated the shock collar. The Warden panicked, covering his ears. The deafening sirens pushed him to his limit. Suddenly, he unleashed a sonic blast that shattered the cage. Then, the exhausted Warden collapsed to the floor. The Snow Golem and Verity watched in horror. Meanwhile, the 3 pets were growing stronger. Now, the laboratory was ready to release them into the wild. Heavy cargo helicopters took off into the storm. The 3 creatures were transported inside reinforced containers. The pilots flew deeper into the wilderness. The Snow Golem was dropped onto a snowy alpine ridge. Verity was released into an abandoned industrial canyon. The Warden was lowered deep into a massive underground cave. And somehow, all 3 adapted to the wild almost instantly. The Snow Golem suddenly saved a herd of mountain goats by raising a massive wall of ice. The terrified goats watched as the ice wall protected them. Then, the Golem built an incredible ice castle on the mountain. Meanwhile, Verity created a floating oasis, where waterfalls flowed upward. Water was literally flowing into the sky. Deep underground, the Warden cleared massive cave-ins with a single powerful strike. One hit was enough to send the rubble flying. Soon, tourists, drones, and satellites started capturing everything. Videos of the Snow Golem building an alpine fortress went viral, and floating islands appeared above the canyon. The lab director saw the videos and realized he could make a fortune. He ordered all 3 creatures to be captured and taken to a safari park. But before the mercenaries could act, reality itself began to crack. The mercenaries froze in shock as a blinding light appeared. Then, 3 enormous portals tore open above the park. The ground beneath the Snow Golem froze solid as a towering frame of ice suddenly appeared. A wave of ancient glacial cold poured from the other side. Frost spread across the ground, covering everything in a layer of shimmering ice. The Golem froze for a moment, felt the familiar cold, and stepped through the portal. High above the arena, the sky suddenly shattered like violet glass. A storm of ender particles burst from the void, forming a portal of weeping obsidian. The massive obsidian portal hung in the fractured sky, glowing with an unnatural purple light. Then, the ground beneath the Warden began to shake. Black veins of skulk erupted from the cracks, twisting together into an ancient archway. Cyan skulk sensors spread across the structure, bringing the gateway to life. The blind titan let out a thunderous roar and disappeared into the darkness. Their home universe was calling them back. The energy of the cubic world had reclaimed its lost children. They had returned to Minecraft not as ordinary mobs, but as something far more powerful. The portal sent our giants back to their native biomes, where they emerged into worlds they barely recognized. Their homes had been invaded, destroyed, and left in ruins. The mutant Snow Golem materialized in the middle of the frozen wasteland. An army of pillagers riding massive armored beasts stormed the village, setting everything in their path ablaze. The wooden rooftops collapsed as flames consumed the village. The raiders raised their siege weapons and unleashed flaming projectiles toward the remaining buildings.
But this golem had been hardened by its time on Earth. It clenched its fists and unleashed an absolute zero wave from its chest. The entire village was covered in ice, and the flames went out instantly. The raiding army was frozen solid, transformed into harmless ice sculptures. For the first time, the golem's glowing pumpkin face showed something unexpected: relief. The villagers slowly emerged from hiding and bowed to their new guardian. Meanwhile, Verity tore through space and hovered above the central end island. But the end had already fallen. The Ender Dragon was gone, and the Wither King had taken control. His skeleton army destroyed the End Crystals and enslaved the remaining Endermen. Then, the Wither King launched hundreds of explosive skulls straight at Verity. Verity opened all 10 of her eyes. Space itself began to bend as she suddenly reversed the direction of gravity. The Wither skulls curved around and flew straight back into his own army. Verity raised an enormous chunk of the island with nothing but her mind. The massive stone beam came crashing down on the Wither King, shattering his crown and sending his army into chaos. As the dust settled, the Wither King lay defeated. His 3 glowing eyes flickered and finally went dark. The Warden found himself deep inside a flooded ancient city. But the ancient guardian had turned the skulk chambers into a massive prison. It was draining the city's glowing skulk essence. Then, the guardian fired a powerful laser straight into the warden's chest. But the warden had learned to absorb almost any kind of energy. The energy rushed through his fur and glowing skulk horns. Suddenly, the blind titan opened his massive chest, revealing a swirling void of energy. Then, he unleashed a hypersonic boom, shattering the prison and destroying the guardian. And across all 3 worlds, the portals suddenly began to glow again. But this time, they opened right inside my living room. Our exhausted heroes finally stepped back through the portals. The moment they crossed the doorway, the battle magic began to fade. In seconds, those terrifying giants became adorable little creatures again. I spread a soft blanket across the living room floor. The Snow Golem sat in front of the fan, happily crunching ice cream. She even used her powers to bring cookies and tea straight to the table. And the little warden curled up in the biggest beanbag chair. He even brought his own bucket of glowing lichen. But to me, they'll always be my favorite pets.